Hello everyone, my name is Ronak and you're watching Vector Art. In today's video, we are going to build this real-time day planner in WPF and C#. So desktop applications don't have to be sluggish or look dated. Using WPF and C#, we can build highly responsive modern interfaces that update the data dynamically and instantly. So here we have our day planner, which I have built with WPF and C#. And this has a nice layout where you, on the right hand side, you have a left hand side, you have a side panel which shows the number of items grouped in the next 7 days in a day and all the tasks, and also it has a list that categorizes the planned items by personal, work, and grocery list, or and many more items that you can add. And here on the main screen you have the welcome note, you have the current date, and an input box where you can add tasks based on categories and date. So here I will just go and say hello, uh, and just leave the rest as is and just click on add, and you can see this nice looking card layout added with the task that I have planned. And also it tells you where this list lies, so it is under personal because I've the combo box was selected as personal. And also it gives you the date, and then you have this radio button on which on click cancels the item, marking it as done. So this is a nice looking view. And it also here on the right hand side, no, sorry, on the left hand side, on the sidebar, you can see the items to be completed in the next days is 7 days is 5. All the tasks, total tasks that I have here are 1, and the one that it is belongs to is personal task, so that's why it is categorized as personal. So we are going to build this nice looking application, and this article or this tutorial will walk you through the core engineering principles behind creating a beautiful real-time day planner application. We will focus on 3 critical concepts that make this app work seamlessly. First is the MVVM Fundamentals, specifically the INotifyPropertyChanged, LINQ for dynamic data counting, and CollectionViewSource for instant filtering. So without any further ado, let's get started. And for those who haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. It means a lot. It motivates me to create more such videos. So let's fire up Visual Studio and start by creating a new project. So let me go ahead and create a new project. Select WPF app with .NET Framework. If you do not have it in your recent templates, you can always look for the template here on the search. Select it and click on next. Give this project a name. I will name this project as Day Planner and click on create. Just to let you know that I won't be writing all of the code since this code is kind of big for this video, and if I go on typing this each and every line of the code, the video will become too lengthy. So I have the code ready, and I will be pasting the code and explaining you step by step on what these code mean. So for starters, let me change the layout here. And here on the left hand side I have the window, and on the right I have the XAML. So let me start by making some changes to the window, like the height and width and the title. So I have my code. I will just copy and paste the code over here. So here you can see the changes that I've made is the title as day planner, height is 700, width is 1000 points, font family and allow transparency to true, and window style is set to none. I will explain you why I have set the window style as none soon. And also the background I've set it to transparent, and the window startup location is center screen. So when I fire up this application, the window will be centered to the screen, and the background and every aspect of it, for example the window style, the title bar will not be visible and the background will be not be visible. So now we will start with adding the resources first before we add the actual controls where these resources will be applied. So let me quickly copy the resources first. So I've written a lot of resources, and I will tell you where these resources will be applied. So under our window and before the grid, let me paste in these resources first, and let's go through them one by one now. So the first thing that I have added are the color definitions and provided them the key so that I can use them in our solid color brushes. So I have added a few colors over here, and the key are primary background, side background, card background, and so on. So the primary background will be applied to the overall application. Then we have the side background. This will be applied to the sidebar, and then we have the card background, where the individual card elements or the tasks that we add in our planner will be applied this background. And the accent colors, text colors, and white color, and the light accent colors will be applied to each of the elements on our UI. And using these colors, I am creating this solid color brushes, and these are the actual solid color brushes that will go into our controls as static resources. So here I have added these solid color brushes, implementing for each of these colors over here. Then we have some value converters, and I will explain you where these value converters will be used. So these are some local resources for the value converters. Then we have the entire style for the sidebar navigation. So this key of this sidebar button style. So on our sidebar, we will have individual buttons. For example, we saw the personal, work, grocery list, and so on. So those will be applied a specific style, and the target type of these elements on the sidebar are buttons. So those will be buttons. So, and each of these setters will be applied to this style. So for example, I'm setting the background as transparent, border thickness of 0, foreground is a white brush, because there will be a background for this sidebar, and I want the text on this sidebar to be visible. So that's why I have a white brush as a foreground. Then the font size is set, padding, margin, horizontal content alignment, cursor is sent from an set to an hand instead of an arrow. And then I have a template within this sidebar for our individual buttons. So it has a control template. The target type is again a button. It has a border, and within a border I have a that border has a padding, and this padding is again coming from this value over here, which is 12.8. And the background is coming from this background property over here, which is transparent, corner radius is 8. Content presenter, and within this button you always have a content presenter. So this content presenter will be applied with an horizontal alignment of left. And then we have the vertical alignment. And after we set the control, there we have the triggers for our control template. So the triggers, for example, when you hover over these sidebar buttons, or is mouse over, the background that I am setting is a light accent brush. So these are some of the styles for our sidebar navigation buttons. Next is the style for the task completion checkbox. So on our UI, you saw there was a radio button on each of the tiles or the planned items, and when you clicked on them, it turned to green. So this is the styled circle. So we are the target type here is a checkbox, and the template, as you see, we are setting a control template of type checkbox. We have a grid, and these grid has a background of transparent, and within our grid we have an ellipse. This is where the checkbox you saw, which looked like a radio button. So we are using an ellipse, and here are some of the properties of this ellipse, and the trigger would be is check property. So when the value is true, the fill will be green, and when the mouse over trigger is triggered, the target name is checkmark, and the property is stroke, and we are targeting the stroke property to strike the value next to the radio button or the checkbox. So, and also we are applying the accent brush, and we are also applying some of the static resources like task completed brush, and task completed brush is basically this green color. And the stroke where completed task brush we are applying is to strike out the text next to the checkbox. So then we have the style for our circular add task button, uh, and the same template applies, so I will not go into detail. Then we have the data template for our task items itself. So this is the data template for our planned items. When we click on add, it adds an item on the screen. So this is the data template for that, and you can see it has a border, and it applies a background of this card by background brush, which we saw on the top. It has a corner radius and some margins and the alignments. It also has an effect where it drops a shadow of opacity 0 0.5 and a blur radius of 10. Then within that template, we have a grid because we need to display the checkbox in the column 0. This is the circular checkbox that we saw over here, for which we defined a template here on the top. And this is the circle checkbox style template, or the style that we are adding to our checkbox over here. Here you can see the style has been added, and is checked is equal to is completed. Is This is the property that we are going to bind it to, and it is a two-way binding. And then we have a stack panel, and within that stack panel we have three text boxes basically. One is to show the list name. Then the second is the text block, where we have the small arrow, and next to that arrow we have the category. So you will see that when you add a item, you will see my list, then you have the caret symbol, and then the whether it is a personal category or work category or grocery list or so on. So this is the template for that. And then finally you have the value, where it is bound to is completed, or for the text decoration. So when you can this value will show you whether the item is completed, and the text decoration will tell you whether it has to strike the text, or whether it has to keep it as is. So this is here you can see the text decoration is bound to is completed, and there are converters set, and we will soon talk about value converters. So basically the idea is, if the item is completed, and that is indicated by checking the checkbox, and if it is true, then I need to set the text decorations to strike out, so that it will indicate that the item is completed. And then you have some few text blocks to display the date, and that is all for the Windows resources. So let's now focus on adding the main window items, and these controls will soon be using these styles. So let's start first by adding a border for our grid. So with outside, before our grid, we'll add a border, and let's also close this border here. And our border has a corner radius of 25, and the background of a primary background brush. Let me build this application once, and I will have to fix these errors. But for now, let me comment that code so that we can focus on the design. Well, I think I closed it too soon over here, and I will close it over here. So now we can follow our design that we are adding, and we will later on fix this error that we see for the value converter. Since we have not added the value converter in the code behind, we are getting that error. So now within our border, we have our grid. So next, we need to set the blueprint for our responsive custom layout. A great user interface starts with a great layout. In WPF, that means mastering the grid. Our application uses a standard two-column layout. So the first column will have the sidebar. We assign a fixed width of 280 pixels. This ensures our navigation panel is always stable. And the second column is the main content. We use our width asterisk, which tells us to take up all the available space. And this is the foundation of our responsive design, as the window adjusts to the main content area as we resize it automatically. So let's start by adding these two column definitions. So I have it with me. So let me copy and paste it in our grid. And this is our column definition. We have two columns, one for our sidebar and the other for our main content. Next, we will add the sidebar. And to add our sidebar, let's add a border first. And let's close this border. And within our border, so now you can see this border is assigned to column of 0, which is our first column. And then we have a background set to this accent brush, and the corner radius is 25 to the left, 0 at the 0 on the top, 0 on the left, and 25 at the bottom. And then we have the padding also set. And within our border, we will add a dock panel. And within our dock panel, we will add another border, and let's me start with that. So here you see I have added this border dock panel, and the dock panel dock property is set to top, and the corner radius is 10 on all sides, and the background is white. And within this dock panel border element stack panel, we have this values set. So first is for the user profile. So this whole section will define the user profile. Right now it is taking all the space. As and when we add the elements, this will start to shrink. So first is our ellipse. So let me and this has an image over here within this. So let me go to properties and go to the source, and I have something in my downloads. I will add that, and let me see if this fixes the error. Let me rebuild it once again. Okay, so this issue is resolved, and then you have one more stack panel which has two text blocks. One is the title text vector art, and the subtitle below that, and the opacity is also set for that. Now we have our main navigation items. So let me add two more stack panels after our border. So the first stack panel is for showing the my day text, and within that we have the buttons which will show you the 7 days, the whole week, and all tasks buttons. So right now these buttons are bound to a content, the respective content, and these content has to be dynamically set in the code behind. So right now there is no value in this my day button content, and similarly the next 7 days and all my tasks, so that's why it is not visible. But when we write the code behind, these values will be populated. So now next we will add the my list section, and after our stack panel we'll add this another stack panel which will display the my list. It is again similar to a title which will be displayed by this text box. We are applying this resources white brush and the individual buttons, and the static resource that you see here is the sidebar button style that I explained, and this button style has a lot of properties in the Windows resources, the setters, which will be applied to these buttons. Now let me go to the main content. So let's start with the main content, and to start the main content, let me add a grid first. And after our border, I'll go ahead and add a grid, and let me close this grid. And this grid is in the column 1, which is the main grid, and within this grid I will add the grid definitions. And this grid has these row definitions. The first row is the of height auto. Then we have the row of height star, because the mid row will be occupying all of the rest of the space, and the row of height auto, which is the last row, which will be the input text, and that will be based on the size or height that we specify on the individual controls. So you will see soon. So we'll start with the header greeting here on the top. So let me add a stack panel which will give you the greetings, good afternoon, and also some subtext of below that you can see here, where we have a stack panel. And within our stack panel, let me format this. So within our stack panel we have our first text block, which is the header. Then we have a second text block, and then we have a border, a rounded border, because we have set the corner radius of 12, padding as 10, and a margin, and a background brush of light border brush, which is a static resource defined in the resources. Then we have a stack panel within it which will display the current date and time, and this property will be set in the code behind, and it is bound to this text property. And that is it for the greetings. Now we will move to the area where the individual items will be displayed for the planner. So I will add a scroll viewer, and within our scroll viewer, which is placed in the row of 1, the vertical scroll bar visibility will be auto based on the values that are there in the this region. The scroll bar will appear, and we have an items control, and it is bound to this task template that we defined here in the resources on the top. So if you remember, this is our data template and this is the task template, and we have defined a template where we have a grid, and within our grid we have each of the element or each item that we add will have a checkbox, a text block which will define this caret symbol and the list that it belongs to, and finally the text that we have added in the add new item. So that was our template, and we have added that in this scroll bar and within this items control, and the item template is set to this task template, and the item source will be set to the task, which we will be creating an observable collection of name called task, and we will be populating it in our code behind. So we are now set with our items. Next we need an area where we can add new tasks. So let's start with a border. So after our scroll view we have a border, and let's close this border. And within our border element, now you can see we have this border element here, and within this we will add our first stack panel. And let's also close the stack panel, and within the stack panel we will add a grid. Let me format it a little. So this grid over here has two columns. One is of one where it will occupy all the rest of the space, and the other one depends on the controls where the width is of type auto. Then we have a text box which will capture the text that you type in or the description of the planned item. It has some properties that I've set. It has two events. One is get focus and lost focus, and I will add the code for it in the code behind. Then you have a button which is to add that task, and it will trigger the add task button click. And the background is an accent brush, and the foreground is a sidebar background brush. Then that was it for the uh, I controls here on the top. We also need a combo box and a datetime picker to capture the list where it belongs to, or the category, and the date. So let's add those. So we need one more stack panel. So let me copy that, and after our grid, I will paste this values. So before we add this, I have made use of NuGet package or a UI package for two controls. For these, here you can see we have a combo box and a datetime picker. The regular controls in WPF were quite boring, so I went ahead and added a package. So let me go to manage NuGet packages, browse and search for handy. And here you have handy controls. I will select this file package over here, and select our project and install. There is also documentation here at the bottom for the NuGet package, so do check it out. So if I go to NuGet solutions, here you can see there is the documentation, and it also has a link to the whole documentation and all the controls that it provides. So do check it out. So now my NuGet package is installed. I will close this, and it also gives me the resources on what I have to make changes to. I will copy these resources, go to Solution Explorer, open my app.xaml file, and in my application resources, paste this resources, and also include this namespace. And I will paste it over here. And also on my main window, I will go to the top and paste this namespace after my day planner namespace. So that was it. I will save this, and hopefully this error that we had should be resolved. So let me go to the bottom, just build it once again. There are a few errors still, and I need to fix them. Since these buttons events and are not visible, I will come back to these two combo box and datetime picker later. So now we are finished designing our main window. So now let's focus on adding our code behind. And here you can see after building, the combo box and the datetime picker are visible. Only thing is that they have not placed in the right place. So we need to fix that, and we'll soon do that. Okay, so I need to cut this stack panel from here and paste it after our stack panel over here, um, and before our stack panel over here. So here after our first grid, I had to paste it so that now you can see the controls are at the right place. So I will save this now, and now let's focus on our code behind. So here we have our main window.xaml.cs, the code behind. And the heart of any real-time application is its data model's ability to communicate changes to the UI. So in our C# code, we define a task model. And for this model to work dynamically, it must implement the INotifyPropertyChanged. So let's go ahead and create this task model here. It can also be put in a different file. For now, I'll be adding here it in this same code behind, but you can also place it in a different file. So here I have added this task, and it is inheriting this INotify property changed. And I have described a few properties that will capture this individual tasks properties. So this individual task has a description, a list name that it has to belong to, a category it has to belong to, it has a due date, and the status of whether it is complete or not. And I have provided the getters and setters for these properties over here, and also added this uh, also implemented the property changed, since we have this INotify property changed inherited. So when a user interacts with a task, for example, by checking the is completed checkbox, which will be captured by this is completed property, we need the associated UI elements like strike through decorations on the side on or a sidebar count to update immediately. So on the sidebar we have these buttons and counters which should be immediately updated as and when we complete a task or make changes to a task. So this is achieved by invoking the on property changed method within the setters of any critical property. So this is how it should work. And now we will add some observable properties that will observe these changes and let our code know that there is a change in the UI inputs and update our UI automatically. So let's do this. So our list of tasks is held in an observable collection of type tasks, like I specified earlier. So let's add those first. So within our main window, let's also inherit it over here. So I will say I notify property changed, and I have also to implement it. So before that, let me add the observable collection of type task, and also add a few more observable collections to capture the available categories in the combo box. So this one is for the entire task, and then we have also the drop down where we'll have the available categories. And if I go back now, by combining INotify property change for our internal task changes and the observable collection for list changes, we ensure that our entire application always reflects the current state of our data. So that is how we will ensure the changes to our UI. And now I will go ahead and add a few more changes. For example, the property to hold the current date time string for our header. So to hold that value, I will add a property in our main window, and let me go ahead and add that. And this is where our property, the current date time on the main window over here, will be capturing that value from or binding the value to. So here you have a text bound to current date time string, and that value will be set to this property over here. We have some errors because we have not implemented the property changed event handler, and that we will do soon. Next are the button content properties, and these are the buttons on the sidebar. So I will copy and paste all the properties that are associated with the button on the sidebar. So we have a few buttons to start with. We have the my birthday button, then we have the next 7 days button, the all task button, personal button, and the work button. And all of these have the on property changed event handler to monitor the changes to these and reflect it in the UI. Next, we will also be adding properties to hold the selected values for the new task input. So when you add a new task, you have to also invoke the property change for these. And the the two properties that we need are the new task category, and the next one is the date time. So we need two properties to capture these values when the user inputs them, and also we need a property changed event handler to observe this. Then we have the counting properties. So we added the my day properties that are bound to the UI elements. So here on our main window, if you see our side panel, so let me go to the side panel that we had on our grid. So here, if I select one of the item over here, you can see it is bound to the my day content. The next button is bound to the next 7 days button, and the third button is bound to the all my task button. So that these are the properties over here, and these properties are again bound connected to these new properties that I'm going to add. And these properties are required for me to calculate every time a new task is added, and that sidebar element should be updated based on these values. So I will add these properties now, and then we will focus on the main window content. So let me add them after our observable class. collections and these properties, and I will tell you how I'm going to use these properties that I've added. So just for now, let them be a few properties. And within our main window, we have the initialize component. This will initialize the UI components defined in the main window.xaml. Next, I want to set the data context to this window instance. So XAML can bind to the task property. Then I will create one more initialize category and date selection third over here, and I will call this, and this sets up the available categories and default selections for the new task. So here you can see the available categories property, which is of type an observable collection, will have these default values: personal, work, grocery list, study, and finance. And you can all, of course, change these values. And then also we initialize the values that will be bound to the new task input control. So new task will be set to the first value, and the new date will be set to the today's date plus 1. And then we will be calling that uh, function within our main window constructor. And let close this. Then we have to initialize the task itself with the default value so that it is not null. So let's copy the code and paste it over here, and this will initialize the task. Let me call this also within our constructor. And then now that it is done, we need to also set the current date time string to the current value. So let me paste it over here. So the current date time string property is set to datetime.now with this format. And finally, we need the to implement our property changed event handler. So since we are implementing the INotify property change, we need to implement the property changed event. So let me go ahead and paste that code. And then we need a few more things. Remember, we added these buttons, and these buttons also have event handlers. For example, the add button, and it has a click of add task button. So let's go ahead and add that function in the code behind. So let me go to the code behind, and after our initialize task, let me go ahead and add that. So what this add task does: so first it gets the description from the new task text box, which is in our main window, and also sets this placeholder text to add a new text task. And then it first validates whether the task description is empty or if it is equal to placeholder text. If not, then we create a new task, and within our new task, which is of type of which is an observe which will be of type observable collection, which will be added to an observable collection. So this task, we within this new task, we are creating a description which is being typed by the user. The list name will be my list. The category will be the selected category from the available categories drop down, and the due date will be set to the value that is set in this property. So these two properties that we created here on the top, if you remember, these are the two properties which will be holding the value from these two drop downs. So one is the drop down and one is the date picker. So here you can see it is bound to this new task category and the new task due date. So they capture these values and set it into this property, and that same property will be set to this task. And once we have this task attribute, we will be adding that new task to our observable collection of tasks. And then we clear the new tasks text, and also the foreground we change the color, and we reset the date selections back to the default. Finally, we need one more function which is called recalculate counts. So this function will recalculate the counts on our sidebar. So to do that, we will go ahead and add this code. And after our function, I think I added it before. Let me see where the okay. So this is where I have to add it after our add button. And let's see what this recalculate counts does. So if it checks first whether the tasks observable task collection is empty or null or not. If it is null, it does not count recalculate anything. If it is not empty, then it takes today as the today's date time, next week as today plus add days of 7. So this is to calculate the values on the sidebar. Then it sets this variable incomplete task is equal to task dot where we are using LINQ to calculate this value incomplete, and the count should generally only include incompleted tasks. So it checks this task is completed property to calculate if the task is complete or not. Then we have the my day count, where due date is equal to today. Then we have the next 7-day count where due date is greater than today and less than next week. Then this next week property we take today dot add days of 7. Then we have the all tasks, so all incomplete tasks is counted, and then we have other calculations also here. And finally, we update the formatted string properties to the button content. So these are the properties that we added on the top, and these are the properties that we have bound to our buttons. And you can see these are the properties that we set or we use to calculate and finally add it to our properties that are bound to our button. So that is where these two properties came in, and that is why I have added all of these properties here on the top with the getters and setters and also the property change event handlers. So finally we have two more buttons that we need to take care. One was the get focus. So this clears the placeholder text when the text gains focus. So let's add that. And here you can see if the text is add a new task, then the text will be empty and the foreground will be set to a color with this format string. Then we have one more method that is the lost focus, and this resets the placeholder text if the user leaves the text box empty. So these are the two buttons. And then we also need observable collections handles. So these handles changes in the observable collection itself when you add or remove items in the collection. So we need this function, and let me go ahead and add it. So these basically subscribe to the property change for any newly added items or tasks, and also it unsubscribes to property change for removed tasks. So and finally recalculate. So let me save this. And here you can see the task property changed is having an error because it does not exist, and we will have to add it. And this handles changes on individual task properties like is completed, due date, and category. So I'll go ahead and add that as well. And it will recalculate if the properties that affect filtering changes. So these are some of the filtering properties that will take care on based on the changes to the sidebar elements. So now I think we are good to go. Only thing that is left to the counting logic that we talked about, and finally the uh, things that we need to talk about are the converters and the filters. So the two final components bring polish to our application: the custom value converters and dynamic list filtering. So the custom value converters, we need to add a few codes that will and I'll explain you what these code do. So the first value converter is our completed to strike converter. So let me go ahead and add it before our main window. So let me enter over here and add this value converter. So to create a strike through effect when a task is checked, we cannot simply bind the tasks is completed boolean directly to a text block dot decorations property. We need an intermediary to translate a boolean into a WPF type text decoration dot strike through. And this is a job for our class completed to strike converter, which implements the I value converter. So the input, if the input is, for example, if the input is true, the task is completed, and the converter output should be text decoration dot strike through. And this pattern keeps our C# logic clean and isolates presentation rules in a reusable way. And here we do not convert back anything, so and that's why we are binding it to nothing. And we cannot omit this because we have to implement the both the convert and convert back methods in an I value converter. So in this case, we do not have to convert back anything, so we are just binding it to nothing. Then we move to the next converter that we have, and that is the fill converter. So the fill converter, let me go and add that fill converter over here. And this converts the boolean is completed value to a solid color brush. This is for converting the boolean value into a text decoration, and this one will return a solid color brush based on the value that you of our boolean field is completed. So this is to return the value of a brush or based on the boolean value. So we have added all of our controls, I believe. Let me rebuild our application and see if there are any errors. I don't think so, and all of the errors are gone. One thing I remember that created an error before because I did not add those converters. So let's see if that error is gone. So let me undo this, and you can see the local completed to strike converter and completed to fill converter are now not throwing any errors. So all we have to do is run this application and see this in action. So here we have our window, and let me add a few tasks. Pick up leafy greens, and let me say it as a grocery list, and click on add. And here you can see our nice task item is added. It has this item template defined, and we have our converter. So when I click on this, the text decoration is added to our text, and also the value converter is added to this color based on the value of is completed. You can also see our items here on the list. So I have added a grocery list, so the item is 1 and rest of them are 0, and the next 7 days item is 1 and all my tasks are 1. So I will add some gibberish value over here and add some one item in our personal, and see that the personal item is also bound. And I will add one more item, and this time I will select work and select add, and you can see the work item is also updated. That was it for this video. Hope you all learned a lot, and if you do, please tell me how you like this video. And if you are interested in this code, please go to the video description where I have provided a link to the GitHub repository. Please do subscribe to my channel and let me know what you want to learn next. Till then, bye bye.